Hello and welcome to the Supreme Leadership Summit. I'm your host, Rachel Abba, and I'm a Supreme spiritual mentor, spiritual guide and courage mentor to highly intuitive people. I'm in the business of supporting highly intuitive women in particular become bold and feel seen and liberated to step out into the world and create tangible wins, tangible successes for themselves on their terms. And today we have with us Jennifer Drummond, co-founder of Racial Lens. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Yay, Jen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read an excerpt from Jen's bio. So as I mentioned at the top, Jennifer is the founder of Racial Lens, which is a client-centered equity and inclusion consulting service that is influenced by her time as the belly dancing psychotherapist and teacher at the Transformational Arts College here in Toronto. She was also the first program manager and primary creator for the innovative after-school program called Beyond 330. Again, I know like your accolades and talent and skills go way beyond that. That's just like a little teaser, a little snippet. So definitely read the rest. So as I said, again, welcome. Let us dive into this.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Oh.
So, this is a really interesting perspective to go into as it, pertains to this summit, which is all about clarity, courage, and confidence. And, top experts sharing and revealing their superior strategies around, how to feel worthy and what exactly that worthiness conversation is about and how that informs who you become and who you're being in the world, what you create, right? In terms of what is meaningful success to you, how it informs your relationships, the whole gamut. So Jen, please share with our audience, a little about yourself and how you came to this work.
Well, I came to this work in a number of different ways. For the most part, I've always known for as long as I can remember and thought about a career is that the work that I have to do must benefit society. That part of my job and part of my raison d'etre, part of my being is that
Yes.
Number one, the work has to fill my soul. I can't just do a job. So it has to fill my soul, and it also has to contribute back to the betterment of the community at large, which may in turn affect individuals, but it also will affect the community at large. So as people themselves start to develop and take ownership and command themselves, they can go out as well, and that whole ripple effect actually works. It's not trickle down economics, it's actually something that works. So
Wow, yeah.
And then being able to see that feeds my soul.
Beautiful.
Right? I see someone get where they want to go. It's just so, it's not overwhelming. It's just an incredible feeling of yes, this is where the universe is teaching you to go. This is where you want to go, and because it's the place you're supposed to go.
So what I'm hearing, like you felt led?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm an intuitive empath as well. So that's just who I am. So that's going to be part of what I do. There's no separating the two. And so that comes with the pros and the cons of those particular aspects. And and for the most part, there's way more pros than there are cons. And the cons invite curiosity to be able to figure out how to work those, or at least be aware of them and how to not so much cope, but almost befriend them and use them to propel yourself forward or propel myself forward.
Yeah.
Even when it's like in the middle of a dark night of the soul, right? Those things have reason, they have purpose. in regards to propelling you forward towards what it is that you're supposed, or what it is, I'll speak in I terms, what it is I'm supposed to be doing, but what I can do to help people to move forward towards their own purpose.
Yes. Yes.
And understanding and awareness and shift and
Mhm.
change that they need to move forward and become a more developed and understanding and empathetic
Yeah.
human being to be able to contribute to our.
Yes, no, I get that, and that is so beautiful because you're almost like shepherding and ushering and guiding,
Mhm.
which feels very loving and very there's a lot of there's intimacy in that. It's beautiful, and and when we look at you went through your own journey, and then you woke up one day and thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a company. Yeah, I'm going to offer a service and I'm going to call it, Racial Lens. What was the catalyst for that?
There were a few catalysts, to be honest. One was I was working in one place that I loved the work. I loved the results I was getting as a result of the work. It
Yes.
definitely fed my soul. It definitely, I knew was contributing to the betterment of the world in general.
Yeah. So
Um,
you loved the impact the work was having in
loved
the
the
world,
impact.
and you loved how you felt in connection to the work. So there was that synergy. It was beautiful. And then what happened?
And then at the office,
Back at the ranch.
back
Yeah.
at the ranch. So when I was out on sites and visiting and interacting with the people the people I was providing the service to,
Yes.
that was all wonderful. But back at the ranch, I was dealing with a lot of micro and macro aggressions. And that can only take you so far. You can only deal with that so far. And I had to leave. And then I
Wow.
left and went into another place, and unfortunately came face to face with microaggressions as well, and had to battle that. I got more vocal the second time I went along, and
Yeah.
just kind of calling people out and
Yes.
back, just not
Yes.
accepting the
Hmm.
behavior that was being drawn towards me. So I eventually burnt out, completely burnt out, because
Okay.
because you push to do the work because I know how many people are benefiting from it. And but on the other side, I can only do so much as an individual. And
Yeah.
after doing years of 60-hour weeks, the body and the brain and the soul can't handle that. And I wasn't putting me first.
Mm.
I was putting the work and the impact of my work first.
Yes, and this is something that, again, full circle back to, what the summit is all about. And I love that you bring that together so beautifully because, you know, um, coming into the summit, the conversation was around, you know, um, burnout, women playing small, putting others' needs before your own, that whole martyrdom, like being pulled in multiple directions around like what societal expectations, familial expectations, like what do I do? I feel selfish if I put myself first. What do you mean? What does that look like, putting yourself first? Like there were so many different voices around that and perspectives around that, and guilt and shame. And as a psychotherapist, this very well with the clients that you see, and the clients you support through your company, through your service, and yourself. Like
Mhm.
personally, you have front row seats, like season tickets to what it can feel like to spin your wheels with good intentions and then end up just completely tapping out
Yeah.
and wondering, okay, I don't know if you've asked yourself this question. I mean, I've asked myself this question so many times, like, how did I get here? What's happening?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how's this my life, right? And then, it can go into all other types of directions, whether it be, health issues, mental health issues, fatigue, depression, fibromyalgia. Like there are all kinds of, especially with women, ways that our bodies cry out and express just desperation. It's like, help me. Like, are you listening? Help me. And so what I'm hearing you share is that your body was telling you that, look, Jen, this isn't working.
Absolutely.
Help, like, listen, like, we can't, this is unsustainable. Right. And you're like, but the people need me, right? Like, as we so often do, and we're conditioned to do, because I know that I didn't exactly have a lot of stellar examples, and I don't know if you did, of women putting themselves first.
Absolutely not. And
right?
as a Black woman, you just don't see
Oh
that.
my God. That's the other layer.
Yeah, because systemically, Black people are pushed, in particular, Black women are pushed to just perform, support, be there, be there, be there.
Yes, the strong Black woman trope. Yeah.
Yeah, and I fell right into it.
You drank the Kool-Aid like I did.
I totally drank the Kool-Aid.
I was like chugging.
Seconds, like a ding dong.
Was you at the trough? You were there at the trough? Not even glasses, were like head in.
Poor baby.
Oh God. Frosh week. Okay.
Like white supremacist characteristic of, if you work hard, you succeed. And
it's fair.
And believing in that, and realizing that there was just being more and more and more put on me, and I couldn't, and it was like, it didn't matter what I said. Like you wouldn't, like at the moment, the job that I used to have has maybe a few more sites to deal with, a few more staff to deal with, like maybe 10 more staff to deal with. Like, it's not a huge deal. And there's 3 people doing the job I did.
Yeah.
So that gives you the idea of how much I actually pushed myself and didn't say no. And really had to learn in a professional way to say no to things that not only were not serving my soul, but were unreasonable requests on me. And and having to reconcile that this has nothing to do with how well I perform and how successful I am, and also had nothing to do with how good I am at my job. It was just beyond anyone's capacity, not just mine, but anyone's capacity, but still trying to strive to meet and pass that expectation of, and also part of it was because I was working with kids at the time, kids who really could use a hand up. And
so I didn't want to let them down.
I didn't want to let them down because I saw myself in them.
Yes.
Right? Like 80% of the kids I worked with were Black.
Yes.
Right? And for me, like coming from a single mom, going through different things, and knowing that certain aspects parents just can't meet.
Yes.
Being able to provide.
So you were filling in those blank spots and standing in the gap for the, for the children.
Absolutely.
Right? And for for yourself in a way, because as you said, you saw yourself in them. And so to give up would be like, it just wasn't, do not compute, right? Like you just, couldn't see it.
When I was getting like parents going, oh my gosh.
You're a lifesaver.
Yeah. Like knowing that my kids are safe.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to feed them.
Yes.
Knowing that you're teaching them how to cook.
Yeah.
You're helping them with their homework.
Yes.
You're letting them play and be kids again. Like what has happened at the house, at the home, has shifts as well.
Yes. So you were getting this feedback, which was fueling your drive to continue to your own detriment.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So now we come to the worthiness conversation of, and I can't imagine, like for many of us or for you, that you ever thinking, I'm not worthy, so I'm going to toil myself into the ground. Like, it's not often a conscious conversation of like, if anything, you would consider yourself, confident, right?
Mhm.
You know, you're not going to take anything from anyone. You're going to, you know, use your voice and stand your ground. And you're a powerful woman, right? And you've got
Yeah.
like a work ethic that is next level. And sometimes that can be, that can cloak just how much we require support,
Yeah,
right? Because we're so capable, right? And it sounds from the story you're sharing about yourself and your experiences in those environments that, you know, unfortunately were toxic. They were toxic on multiple levels. And, you know, and I really want to reach into your expertise here because, you know, yes, you're a Black woman. And yes, you know, you work with vulnerable populations and marginalized populations. And in your work, how do you see, like, could you just add that extra layer for us? Because we, you know, the worthiness conversation as it pertains to women, we get that, we're in it, we see it in the world, equity issues, violence against women, it's a global issue, and I believe it's a human rights crisis.
absolutely.
Um, you know, and so, but then we're looking at this worthiness piece with that racial filter. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that really helped me and which led to me starting Racial Lens was really delving into and acknowledging all the racism I had faced. Like really acknowledging and also developing a capacity for using the language to be able to describe what it was I faced and why it was racism itself,
Yes,
why it was violence, and why it was traumatic. I mean, racism in
yes.
itself is is a trauma,
Mhm.
you know, and having people to be able to realize and acknowledge that. It's like when, you know, you're getting cut every day
Yeah.
and nothing
Death by a
heals,
thousand cuts. Yeah.
right? Death by a thousand cuts. It's bound to take its toll on you. And to be honest, I'm surprised. Like the world is lucky that Black women are as strong as they are, but unfortunately, we need help and
Yeah.
help and self-care.
Mhm.
Self-care is so important. And so for me, you know, getting to that point where it's like, no, 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 I'm worthy of not working myself into the ground. I'm worthy of having time to enjoy my life. I'm worthy of having downtime and not being going and resting.
Yeah. And resting and not like worrying or feeling guilty
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Or shame,
Yeah, that's yeah.
like feeling shame for having to take time off and
Yeah.
heal myself. Like I remember being so proud that I went a whole year without taking my all of
Vacation.
like taking sick days.
Oh boy.
Then shortly after that, it was like, yeah, no, I'm not coming in.
Taking sick
It's just like,
years.
no, forget that noise. I'm not working myself into the ground anymore. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take my sick days. I'm gonna take a mental health day when you just wake up and it's like, if
No.
I go into the office, I'm gonna throw stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity today. And
Yeah.
not beating myself up for not being on 24/7. You know,
Yeah.
like when I have to pull it out, of course I do.
Yes.
It's also that whole idea of pacing myself so that
Mhm.
I'm not burning myself out. And especially as an equity and inclusion consultant, you know, there's a lot of time where I get stuff thrown at me,
Mhm.
you know, like
Wow. Yeah.
the fragility gets thrown at
Yes.
me,
Yes.
the
You're like a
denial
buffer.
thrown at me, the how dare you take this position of authority.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and how can you possibly know more than I have? And that usually comes from white people.
Like, have you like, is there any you know, in term like just in general, or you know, like white men, white women, both the same? Is there like any commonalities, like any ways that you've experienced this where you've the reason I'm asking this is because there's that whole idea of like code switching, right, or identity switching amongst, you know, Black people specifically. This might also happen, you know, in you know, with people of color. But I'm, I would know it from, as being a Black person, and you identifying as a Black person as well. This idea of code switching where, our value and our worth, we pivot between identities because there are different standards or expectations. So the way you would interact with another Black person can look very different from how you would interact with someone who is not Black, right? Whether it be they be white or a different ethnicity, it would tend to be different. So, was there, because we're talking about just, I mean, it's one thing to have abuse in the workforce, right? Then you have the layer of gender, the layer of race. There might be like economic things as well, depending on who you're dealing with, class, right? All the different areas. So you're carrying all of this, right? Like a basket on your head. And we've not even come to like the human issue, right? Like these are just all the layers, right? All the layers, it's like a layer cake on top, right? Did you find yourself in any way like where the conversations you would have with yourself vary in terms of how you would show up, how you felt, connecting with your sense of value and worthiness? Were there things that you would maybe edit and not say because, like
sometimes there are things in my current position where I might not say it, mainly because I know the person who I'm telling it to hasn't got the capacity
to hear it?
it. So why should I expend my energy to
Mhm.
educate them when they're not
Yes.
even going to be open enough to hear it?
Okay.
So my energy, I'm really conscious of my energy. It's like I'm still going to say it and you're going to hear it the way you hear it.
Yes. I'm not responsible for your feelings.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not here. The way I present things, I'm very conscious of not shaming people
Yes.
and not belittling people. And
Yes.
because I know that if we want the world to change, people have to understand this from a heart way,
Yes.
not to take it personally.
Yes.
It's their personal responsibility to make the changes and to understand and develop empathy and compassion and understanding, and also a backbone to be anti-racist and to push it forward. Because it's all fine and dandy to think that, oh yes, I'm not a racist, but being an anti-racist is 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 something that moves. It's not
It's
something that's
dynamic.
stagnant. It's about propelling change,
Mhm.
which is, it's a practice. I always say it's a practice like yoga, right? You never perfect yoga. You never perfect meditation. You're always working for, and you're always doing something different, and you're getting more and more knowledge about it. And it's the same where on certain days, your body just can't do that move, or your body just, or like, your brain just won't stop making the list and
Yes.
that. And that's just part of being human. So you just accept yourself and you do what you can do in that moment and forgive yourself for not being perfect,
Yes.
which of course is another white supremacy culture.
It's an illusion. It's an
Another
illusion.
characteristic, right? And
Yeah.
so it's getting to that point where you really have to acknowledge your humanity outside of what society says humanity is supposed to do. And it's also about reshaping what your definition of success is,
Mhm.
and making that idea of success also include your personal life, your spiritual life, your relationships,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not just your physical life, like how you are physically in the world as well.
Yes.
They all are combined and intertwined together, and they inform each other. So it's trying to be as honest with myself in all of those different aspects and trying to keep those aspects balanced as much as possible, so that I can step into the shoes that have
Yeah.
been given to me.
Yes.
And I mean given to me by the universe, not
Yes. Not like some, yeah.
It's not like secondhand shoes that don't fit, right?
I know.
They
Oh my
need to
God,
be
the
broken
picture getting
in.
bunions. Oh my God.
They need to
Yeah.
be broken in, but they
Yes.
still fit.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So it's that aspect of doing that sort of balancing act, and also just acknowledging what you need. And I think one of the big things is also learning how to ask for help and
Yeah.
not
So
feeling guilty about needing help. It's like, and like one of the things that I did that helped me with, I'm using help a lot,
well, something that
that
supported you.
assisted me,
Yeah.
that I got to support, was that if people would ask me for help, assistance, I'm usually happy to give it. And why not allow people to be able to do that for me?
Yes.
There's
Well, this is the thing too. And, I'm so glad you brought this up. And I know other experts who've been on the summit have also touched on this in their own way. That idea of receiving, right? Being, feeling vulnerable and not seeing vulnerability as a weakness, right? But rather as a strength. So definitely what you were speaking to of redefining experiences and words for ourselves. What that means, it doesn't make you, somehow broken or faulty or lacking.
it makes
Um,
me human.
it makes you human, but for so long, for so many generations, 14 specifically, especially in North America, 14 generations, Black people have not been permitted, have not been allowed to be, because we weren't human, right? So no wonder we're attempting to do superhuman things, because we were never under the category of human, right? We were three-fifths, what was it?
Exactly.
Three-fifths
Three-fifths.
human?
Three-fifths.
So, that we, and all these, propaganda messaging around, they don't feel pain the way, Indo-Europeans do. They can, basically, they're chattel, right? So you work
Yeah.
them into the ground and it doesn't matter, like you're the equivalent of a mule. And so all of these things intergenerationally leave epigenetic markers on us. And so a
Absolutely.
lot of the things we don't have the evidence in our lived experience for. And because the trauma has been so ingrained and so sustained that now we ourselves, accept certain tropes and certain, you know, white fragility, or white, I don't call it white supremacy, I call it white barbarism, right?
Okay.
Because there's nothing supreme about it,
Yeah,
right? There's
but
nothing supreme
we can
about
have,
it.
that's a whole other
Like
conversation.
you, yeah, like you believe, no, it's
I
true.
don't
Like
believe
you,
they're
because
superior,
but
but
no, absolutely. But the thing is, it reinforces, and I've seen it in the eyes. It
mhm.
reinforces, it's like, oh my God, my excellence is crimping your less than human style, right? Like it's like, oh, I know, oh my God, I feel so ashamed about my ancestors being so superior.
Yeah.
Right? And like lording it over you and using it, like weaponizing their greatness. I can see it in the eyes of those like who don't hear and don't see it. So
And they
I'm
don't
taking that
understand
away.
the full
Yeah,
concept,
I'm taking,
full theory
yeah,
of it. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So when I refer to it, I refer to it as white barbarism or barbarism, right? It can be barbarism in anyone's hands because it's a particular way of behavior, it's a particular way of being in the world, and it's something that I've also experienced in people of color because they've internalized it, right? So it's not something that is, so when I say white, it's not that only white presenting or Caucasian people have. It is something that was spread as a global, almost like a virus,
Virus.
right? And
That's
so now
exactly what I was thinking, like a virus.
it is a virus. It was like, as far as that, like one of the originals, and it's just like, pandemic, epidemic, like it's just like taking out millions of people, and it's a mental and spiritual warfare, right? Like this is war, right? On our bodies, on our health. And when you're on the receiving end of it, and I do believe that this hurts everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Even within the perpetrators, you're paying a price. it's now feeling normal. Like
Yeah.
it feels, because the candy and the benefits are so sweet, you don't realize the cavity. You know what I mean? You don't realize the disease, and you're willing to pay that price because what's the alternative? Yeah, so this barbarism that is out in the world, out in the workplace, that we experience on so many levels and is denied on so many levels,
Mhm.
takes a toll on that worthiness conversation, I've
Absolutely.
found, because now not only do I now get to struggle and figure out my worthiness as a human being, as a, regardless of what your belief system might be, I now get to navigate my worthiness as a woman who has highly melanated, you know, skin, right?
Yeah.
Because that has a whole other, now I'm like, okay, I must be this, I must be that. And it takes a whole other, yeah,
Takes a
mental,
whole other,
physical health toll.
yeah, it has a life of its own. It really
Yeah,
does have a life of its own. And if and it and it's taking that time to stop and reflect on it and see where that is. And even where I had to take the time to reflect on how I was doing that. How was I pigeonholing myself
yes,
in this world of, as you call it, barbarism? Um, and 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 realizing just that it's not possible, it's not necessary. Um, it needs to be navigated because, of course, we still live in a world where that is,
very much the culture.
that's the
Yeah,
water, we're the
yeah,
fish, right? The fish don't know that they're in that water so much. It's when you start realizing, oh, I'm in water and I was in polluted water, and now
yes,
I have to try and swim towards cleaner, fresher water that
yes,
actually nourishes me, that feeds me, that propels me forward and makes me more complete as the person I'm supposed to be.
yes,
Um, and being able to realize what works and what doesn't,
yes,
to get me there. And some
yes.
of that, as you said, is that internalized thought of what society expects, even though
Yeah.
Black people are the global majority. Do you know?
Doesn't matter. It's
It
like, it's
doesn't matter.
that, like,
And and
you
and
know,
and sometimes it's even that it's something as simple as centering Black voices
mhm.
that make like that. I've had Black people tell me that made them uncomfortable, that I was
Yes,
centering Black or BIPOC voices,
yes,
and that I was centering the voices of the oppressed,
yes.
and where they're not normally allowed to have their voice
Yes. Well,
heard.
I mean, when we look at the history and everything, you see, all the ways we're reacting and feeling right now are based on historical, like there's empirical evidence for why
Absolutely.
we feel, because wasn't it illegal up until not that long ago for Black people to gather, right? Unless it
Yeah,
was a church, it was illegal. You could get arrested and thrown in jail
absolutely.
for loitering, right? Like for gathering, and people, like literally cops will like descend on wherever like a call has been made where I've seen Black people gather, and you would literally be
Ooh,
like,
so scary.
yeah, like
Yeah.
where I think it was like up to, I think it was it over three, like anywhere between 3 to 5, like you get to that number and someone will come and interrupt the signal, interrupt the pattern. It's like, what are you guys doing here? Well, what's going on? Right? To break it up. It was actually illegal for us to gather, which was why, like, how come they don't work together? How come they don't? It's because, like, in our bodies, we feel fear. There's like a pain signal that goes off. The moment a lot of us like gather together, you're like, no one has to say it. You just start like dispersing, right?
No, because
Because
the
of the
ancestral
training.
trauma has informed us
Exactly. That's
this
what I
is
mean.
that it's not in our, it's
It's
not
not
just,
personality.
it's not personality. It's not something that we're making up in our minds. It's that there is really a threat
Yes.
that is present there's clear and present danger.
Clear and
Clear and
the
present
sequel.
danger. Yeah, the sequel. I think it's actually the original. It's the
original. It's true. It's true. It's true, Morgan. Yeah.
No, because there is that aspect of real danger, not perceived.
Yes. So there's been a lot of like gaslighting over the years, is what I'm like, over the generations, over the decades, of no, you're just making it up. You're being too sensitive. It's not, no, that's not what they meant. A lot of that sort of, stuff.
Yeah. And I remember when I was younger and having friends say, oh, it's all in your mind. And I'd go, oh, really? I'm going to go into the store. You come in 2 minutes later and pretend you don't know me, but just
and watch.
Just watch. And you tell me what's happening, or just even watch, to pay attention to how someone speaks to you and how someone speaks to me.
Yes.
Right? It's different.
Yes.
It's very different how someone interacts. And there are real life examples where, yeah, the difference might be subtle, but that's all the subtlety is all you need.
Yeah.
It's
it
like
feels
in
heavy.
Canada, right? Yeah. In Canada, the whole idea is like, oh, we're so tolerant. It's like, I don't want to be tolerated. Thank you very much.
Not true.
I want to be included, equitable, and understood and represented. I don't just want to be tolerated. And
can you imagine?
Canada the nice, right? It's like, I don't want to be nice. I want you to be kind. And kindness involves a certain form of authenticity and realness.
Yes.
And that, that's what I would prefer, is like,
yes,
let's be kind, which means that I actually have to reflect on how I'm interacting with you.
Yes. It's a lot of thinking and a lot of managing and a lot of like tap dancing. And that definitely can take a toll on one's energy. And you talk about navigating to cleaner waters. There are others who are like, okay, how do I filter this crap? Like I'm not swimming anywhere. I'm like right here. And like, how do we clean this up? Right. And then you have, which are layers of your work as well.
Yes.
And then, there are others who are like, I'm out of here. I'm going to evolve and I'm going to go on land. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different approaches to this, which is why it's such a fascinating, topic for me in particular. And, I just want to applaud you for the work that you do, because it is some serious, deep tissue work. Like it is, you know what I mean? Like it's
word. Yeah, that's exactly
right.
That's exactly what it is. It's really getting down to the tissues and the nitty-gritty. And the way I like to do it is not, I don't want to preach to somebody. I don't want to dictate to them, because they're not going to take, I know I will take it in personally. And for the most part,
and it's not your job.
And it's not my job. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present you the facts. I'm going to present you some opportunities to think differently.
Yes.
And to just reflect on something that hasn't actually affected your life, or that has affected your life, but to be able to see it from a different light, and a light that may, like, if you've got that crack of light,
yes,
start going towards that crack of light, and it can get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And so when you find more of yourself and your authenticity and the way that you really want to live your life, if you want to live your life that you're contributing to the world and a better of the world, which in turn makes it better for you.
Beautiful. So what is like, so here, I would ask you this then, like one, like, if there was a practice or a tool or a resource that you would share with our audience in terms of like, how are you able to, in many ways, inoculate yourself against this, invasive frequency? Or how would you, like, how would you, because it's like you're putting on armor and like going out into the world, and this can be quite cumbersome, and like, what would be one practice or one tool that has supported you?
One tool that I really use, and I use it when I'm facilitating and in life in general, is deep breathing. I think that one of the things that we as a society don't value breathing deeply, or don't even understand
Doing anything deeply.
anything deeply. Yeah. But I mean, for the most like breathing in your chest, or when you experience any kind of trauma or confrontation, your breath shallows,
Hmm.
and that makes it harder to actually function.
Yeah.
For me, I make a conscious effort to take a deep breath. And maybe even taking a step back. Like if someone's asking me a question, I'm going to get back to you on that, because,
Yes.
um, that's what I need as well.
Creating space
Like,
for yourself,
yeah,
like
I'm not
creating.
ignoring you. I'm just validating where I am at the moment.
Yes.
So being able to breathe deeply, and cleansing, having a cleansing breath, and to
Yes.
be able to release the tension that I'm
Yes.
feeling in my body. So it's conscious breathing.
Yes.
It's not the unconscious breathing that we do every day, all the time.
Just to
It's
stay
all
alive. Yeah.
just to stay alive. It's actually consciously using that tool that is normally so automatic to be able to create space.
Hmm. And become productive,
Yeah,
and
but still honoring.
fortify yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah. To be able to, be more conscious, like, well, not
yeah,
even more conscious, like be conscious,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
make decisions from that heart space.
Mhm.
What I'm hearing you share. Well, this is super helpful, and I truly believe definitely taking a deep breath, taking that step back. I always recommend getting a bird's eye view on a particular situation, conversation, or event. Truly can alleviate a lot of misunderstanding,
Mhm.
and can prevent additional trauma
Yeah,
being
it can
reaped.
also,
So,
yeah, it can also create space for
mhm.
curiosity
Yes,
rather than accusation, as you're
exactly, exactly.
like, okay, this is what my initial gut says. My gut
Yes,
might be right, but let's
yeah. Let's
try.
see if it's true
Yeah,
or not. Like, and then, what's underneath it.
yeah,
No, definitely. I love that. And I love the inclusion piece. And I love how, dealing with people as whole and complete beings, whether or not you agree with them, whether or not you validate their take on you or in a particular situation is not the point. The point is we're all here together, and that whole leaning in with curiosity. If I feel triggered by something, what's underneath that, right? And being curious about your own feelings and the way you're interpreting experiences, right? I just think makes for such an interesting and enriching life overall.
absolutely.
So, definitely, we invite each other into this, connected conversation, into a communion, and lean in with curiosity. Do you have any final words, Jennifer?
I thank you very much for having me here. It's great to have this wonderful conversation that's a little bit outside of my box, but still in my box. And it's wonderful to be able to reflect this way, and hopefully, it invites other people to reflect themselves,
Yes.
and to be able to acknowledge where they're at as individuals. So, I say keep the practice up. The
Beautiful.
practice is worth it. And
Yes, because you are worth it.
yes, exactly. Exactly. That's it. You're
Yeah,
worth it. You're worth being treated like a whole human being,
absolutely.
not just having your accomplishments create your sense of worth. That
Yeah.
there's so much more to you than what you do. It's a
Yes.
matter of your being. What kind of a person are you when you're just being?
Yes.
What kind of a person do you want to be when you're just being? And
Yes.
how do you make those two come closer together? Or how do you move one to
Yeah.
keep the other?
I
Uh,
love that.
Faith. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That definitely there's clarity in it, being clear about what your needs are and seeking, support, and, y- digging deep into that sense of, you know what, I'm worthy and I have value,
Mhm.
and life doesn't get to be hard just because, just because I can do it doesn't mean I have to, right? And having that clarity about your boundaries,
Mhm.
and having the courage to be able to take that step, even if it feels uncomfortable. Like, I can imagine many of the populations you serve, having that courage to step up and say something, use your voice. That requires courage. You don't know how it's going to work out. You don't know if what it's going to cost you, right? What we're trying to, like, desperately hang on to, and having the courage to say, you know what, I deserve better. I want better for my life. I want better for my relationships, and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Right. And having the confidence to stand in your truth.
Mhm.
So these are all, the conversations I invite the audience, and please share this video, because there are people out there who definitely, I believe everyone can benefit from just a different way of looking at something, or seeing it from, a different perspective, and maybe doing that self-reflection that Jennifer, was inviting us into doing, and just, being present with yourself to go, okay, how is this serving me? How is it no longer serving me? Does this require release from my life? And what changes, what would that require of me? And then that willingness to step into your power, that willingness to lean into the unknown and know that no matter what, you are worthy. So I want to take this opportunity, Jennifer, to thank you, Jennifer Drummond, founder of Racial Lens. Thank you for sharing your heart, your thoughts, your wisdom on this very relevant and highly charged topic in such a conscious and loving way. Thank you so much. To
Thank you.
everyone, continue with the summit. Yes, continue with the summit, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.